Okay, welcome to Into the Channel podcast, primarily about women's football. I am your host, Dino De Cespedes, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Grant Engel. What is up, man?
I'm feeling fantastic, buddy. Day 10 of the UEFA Women's Euro. I mean,
Let's go.
We're pretty much there. We didn't know if we would get through 12 straight shows. I'd say we've done it handily.
Yeah, well, I still don't know if we're going to get through 12 straight shows, but let's see if we can get through 10 straight shows. It's still early. It's early in the proceedings, man. Good day of football. Some of it pretty straightforward. I think, some of the air sucked out of it, just understanding that, all right, we kind of knew the way that the quarterfinals was going to shake out or who was going to get through. But I think a good amount to talk about. We have two teams that are advancing. One of them, an absolute behemoth. So a good bit to get into. Mr. Grant Engel, where you want to get started?
Let's get started with a beverage, my good man. A celebratory beverage.
Let's go.
Celebrating Spain and Italy, obviously.
Cheers to Spain.
One of those
teams.
To Italy. Cheers to both of them. Cheers to the football. A little less cheers to Italy, though. Let's be honest with ourselves. At least over on this side of the stream. You mentioned that we now know who's going through, and that's obviously true. We have the results. I just want to do a quick early shout out to OG friend of the show, ITC lifer, you could say, for at least for the lifespan of this program, Carlo Wilson, one of our absolute best pals on YouTube, drops a comment on yesterday's video, and he's been doing this routinely, predicting scores and winners. And what do you know? His prediction for today's Spain-Italy match, Spain 3, Italy 1. And that's where I want to get started. Oh, wait a minute. Let me make sure. Oh, yeah. I'm just going to repeat myself. Spain 3, Italy 1. Just as Carlo Wilson predicted. And I had mentioned to him, he obviously makes his prediction well before the match. I replied to him and said, hey, man, I checked on FanDuel. That exact scoreline plus 1,000. So, Carlo, I hope you placed your bet. And I think everybody else, check out the comments of these videos. Carlo continuously drops his match predictions. And let's get those 401ks lined up. Let's figure out what kind of retirement plans we're cooking up based on Carlo's bets. Cheers to you, my good man.
Carlo, he almost hit 1-1 Belgium, Portugal, too. That one went right down to the wire. We're talking massive parlay numbers. You stick those two together. But, yeah, shout out to Carlo. Ciao for now. That's our guy. DD, another couple of people chimed in. DTification on YouTube. Appreciated your wrestling promo. Megmo, Giggity Woo, you already know. Jostine, Beelzeduck. Excellent handle. And just definitely appreciate the community, and I love that the country folk are coming out for their teams. So it's like each video, each group, we're getting to know a different clan of folks that are into the football, and then absolutely appreciate everyone who's rocking with multiple videos, which we're seeing some of the audience kind of stick around and just enjoy the tournament with us, which it's been an absolute banger for sure.
It's the best part about doing this is that we've found the one corner of friendly people on the internet. And so I know we usually say this for the end of the show, and I get, this isn't some like big acceptance speech, but just thank you guys for rocking with us, man. It's the fun part about like having a little internet community where we can all talk about the football and just share knowledge and make stupid jokes. And thank you for playing along with me, turning into Roddy Piper for 45 seconds or however long. Maybe that rant went 5 minutes of me celebrating Norway, a country I've been to once. And it was on a layover on a flight. So I've been to the Oslo airport. That's my extent. But I will get there eventually.
Get back there eventually, for sure. Mm-hmm. No doubt. Let's get to the football though. Spain 3, Italy 1. Mm-hmm. Spain takes the group as expected. But this one had a little bit of intrigue to it. Italy came out ready to play. Like, they obviously notched the early goal. But that wasn't their first chance. Like, they were very active, looking to counter. I thought they maybe uncovered a little something, because Spain is a team that loves to, when you think about Patry, like way up the pitch, and maybe like Battier on the outside, way up the pitch, that's going to leave space in behind. And Italy, with a player like Cantore, is a team that's going to be able to kind of take advantage of that. And I thought they kind of cracked a couple holes in that Spain defense early. I thought Spain adjusted pretty well, but Italy, a really nice start in this one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they came out like a team who knew they wanted to get something from the game. And now obviously they don't. They don't get any points. They lose, but they're the ones who came out how I thought Portugal was going to start off. Now we'll talk about that match later, but like that was a total role reversal for me, where it looked like Italy came out thinking they needed to get points and get goals early. And like you said, I do think teams look for that and say, oh, okay, if Spain's going to push up on one side, if they're going to try to, send the right back or the left back up forward, we're going to try to get in behind there. And that is a fine strategy to talk about and draw on the whiteboard, envision when you lay your head down on the pillow the night before the match. And then you step on the field and then you have to play against Spain. And yeah, they did it for a little bit early, but the margin for error is tiny. And in order to do some of those things, you have to survive Spain's press. And that is much, much easier said than done.
Yeah. Spain's press, obviously devastating, 74% possession for Spain. The touches, Spain gets 434 in Italy's half, Italy just 40 in Spain's half. So almost 10-1. Almost 11-1 of a disparity there. But even with all that said, the shots, 20 for Spain, 13 for Italy. You look at shots from inside the box, 12 for Spain, 9 for Italy. So I thought Italy definitely found some success, absolutely maximized their chances. The Oliviero goal early was a really fun moment to kind of get it going. But then a little chill down the spine when Alexia and Atenea come back down the other way like 2-3 minutes later. It wasn't just the goal. It wasn't just the given goal nature, the slickness of the goal. I love Atenea's run there. Just knowing that Alexia is going to get the ball back to her. It's like, it's a dish. And then it's like, I'm not going to slow down at all. I mean, I'm going to try to speed up a little bit because I know this ball is coming right back to me. It does. She cracks it, gets the goal. And then I love the celebration. It's like no smiling, no nothing, no running, no sliding. No, it's like we went down 1-0 and now we made good on that. And now let's get back down to business. I thought a very business-like performance from Spain.
For sure. I don't know much about comic books. I think it's the Incredible Hulk where the phrase comes from. But when they scored that, I immediately thought, you won't like them when they're angry. And I think that every time a team scores early against Spain or puts some pressure on them, it seems like all you're doing is poking the bear. El oso, if you will. I believe it might be Spanish for bear, if I remember correctly.
Nailed it.
Excellent. I got to keep brushing up. I mean, Spain's not going anywhere for a while, so I might as well learn as much Spanish as I possibly can. The chill down the spine is a good way to put it because they were so cool with it. The little back heel by Alexia. I mean, it's just like no real pressure. We're down 1-0. We're gonna come back. I of course had to try to be a smartass on Blue Sky and was like 4-1. I'm gonna go with 4-1. Like after the goal, I guess I wasn't that far off. Obviously, not nearly as accurate as our guy Carlo, but it's just hard for me to ever doubt this team. The talent disparity. They rotated like 5 or 6 players here, but all the players that they put on the pitch are still awesome. Italy is not a talent deficient team by any stretch. No. They have several good players on their own. It's just you can't match up against this squad.
Yeah, you definitely can't. I mean, they're so loaded, and I agree with you because we've watched the Spain side in the Nations League. We watched them in the Olympics last summer. I was definitely much cooler on them during that Olympics run. They just don't look that good. I think all of that is now for the most part behind them. Alexia, a player that after the injury, World Cup, post World Cup, I think Alexia working. I don't want to say finding a role, but finding a superstar role. Let's say. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's done. I feel like Alexia now has carved out any space that she wants to in the middle of the park, and kind of like is back to being the centerpiece of the offense. Tremendous group stage for Alexia Putellas. 3 goals, 4 assists. 90 plus in all 3 matches. Her FOTMOB rating 9.1, 9.7, 9.1, and in this match, I mean, from the midfield. So she gets the assist, obviously, to Atenea that we mentioned. But from the midfield, 70 of 75 passes completed. From that spot on the field is absurd. That's an absolute absurdity. And 3 chances created on the day, 5 passes into the final third. Just, I mean, looking like the best player in the tournament, hands down.
I would agree. You mentioned the 3 goals, 4 assists. On Spain, she's number 1 in progressive passes. She's number 2 in progressive passes received. And you could just tell, I mean, it wasn't just that back heel. I mean, she's had several moments. You know, she had the super cool finish against Portugal. She's just out there styling on opponents too, which is just, you know, she is in a zone. And we had talked about it after the first match where, you know, she lifted that World Cup trophy, but was coming off the injury. You know, we don't have to rehash the whole thing. It was just like, it's not that winning the World Cup is unsatisfying, but like, I think your point is spot on about us having a superstar role. She didn't have, and she shouldn't have had a superstar role on that World Cup team because she was so fresh off the ACL. Now she is all the way back, and I think she is looking at, okay, I'm adding this major trophy to the trophy cabinet, and I want people to look back on it and say, this was the Alexia tournament, and she's well on her way to accomplishing that.
That's super interesting. We also talked a little bit about Ballon d'Or and, you know, Mariona's place in that. I think Alexia's starting to separate herself for sure. But the Ballon d'Or there's a fun quirk to it where Alexia gets 2 in a row, Aitana gets 2 in a row. There's sort of sometimes a split the vote kind of situation. And and now I think there could be a little bit of pressure on the voters because this effectively becomes not really the tiebreaker because, you know, you don't know what's going to happen in the future, but sort of the tiebreaker for this 5-year period. And I think Alexia making a great case. And if she can kind of carry this team all the way through this tournament, I think that award might be a wrap.
Yeah, I mean, she'll certainly put a stranglehold on it if she ends up, you know, being the best player, like really showing out as the best player in this tournament. I mean, obviously, you never know if Barbara Benda leads Orlando Pride to another double where she could land. I mean, you know, you can't forget the legend over here in the States. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to track, and we'll be there to track it all along the way. And Spanish fans can yell at you for picking Mariona Caldente in the comments.
Why would they yell? I'm Spanish, maybe Barcelona fans. She's Spanish too. Like, what are we talking about? You know, I got a little Spanish blood too. Check the 23andMe. Check the tapes on that.
Good to know.
Let's talk about Spain's matchup Friday. Bern, 12 p.m. Pacific versus Switzerland, the home country. I'm not sure how much of a fight Switzerland's going to be able to put up in this one, but I wanted to look at this match from a couple different angles. So you obviously talked about whether or not Alexia's going to be able to keep up this form over the course of the tournament. We're halfway through, 3 matches down. There's only 3 matches maximum left, you know, through the quarterfinals. So we'll keep an eye on that. But 2 players that I want to call out. These are players that a lot of folks that follow the show know that we know about. For me, Sama Pariuelo, Vicky Lopez. So I feel like we've seen some flashes, probably more so from Vicky than Salma, but we've seen Salma do it in the Champions League. We saw her do it in the 23 World Cup. I sort of feel like there's some Pariuelo moments looming, and I'll tell you why. I think as the competition starts to get ratcheted up, Spain will have more opportunities to counter and run, play back and forth. That's a perfect opportunity to get Pariuelo in the match. You know, and I think if they're spending a little bit more time on the opposition half as well, you know, obviously today they only give up 40 touches to Italy. But I think as that number starts to increase, a player like Vicky Lopez, especially maybe later in the match, coming on as a sub, you know, who knows what's going to happen there. But I think those 2 players are on track for some major moments because I think their profiles are really going to fit, you know, the competition as Spain kind of like continues through the tournament.
I love it. And we've seen it from Pariuelo at Barcelona too. Like, I mean, she has the massive 2023 World Cup, and then you and I were like super excited to watch her play at Barcelona, watch her play in the Champions League, and then she'd have a couple matches where it's like, she's a world beater. Should she be your permanent number 9? Like, we had all these questions, and then it's like, she's been a little quiet lately. Maybe she is better out on the wing, and then she just comes right back. So she does have a little bit of a pendulum swing to her game. Now, she's still a very young player, to your other point, but it's like a ticking time bomb. You're just waiting for her to go off again. And Vicky Lopez, wise beyond her years. I mean, right now, if you had to pick your front three, you're looking at Pina, Esther, and then they've been playing Mariona up front on the right? But I mean, now you kind of have to choose first off the bench between Lopez and Periuelo, or I guess not really, because they've just been doing like full line changes at times with those three. But I think it's a good call because, those two are going to come on in big moments. You're muted.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Staying in, it goes both ways. This damn, San Francisco train outside my windows and making a bunch of ruckus. Anywho, I think it's gonna be matchup dependent. So Vicky Lopez, I think is more of like a midfield, type option, especially with Aitana. True. We'll check out what the minutes look like. But again, I think Pariuelo, if it's Pariuelo or Pina, I think it's gonna be matchup dependent. So if you're playing like a France or a Germany or maybe possibly in England, and you expect to be more, like have more up and down, I think that's perfect for Pariuelo, because in a match like this, she's out there, she's taking corners, she's taking free kicks. Yeah. She can't run anywhere. She's just kind of like, it's all clogged up in there. A great situation for Patri, who just gets to rip shots from outside the box with everybody worried about everything else. Massive game, 123 touches, 94 passes completed out of 105, dispossessed just one time on the day, gets a goal right coming out of halftime to separate Spain from Italy, and just do what Spain does. Come out of halftime, just let them know, just remind everybody that this was fun, but we're Spain, we're the champs, and it's going to take a lot more than that to get us out of here.
Yeah, no doubt. And one of the things I love looking at on the website FootMob is the head-to-head. And so between these two teams, Spain and Switzerland, Spain 4 wins, 0 draws, 0 losses. These teams last played each other in 2023, where they saw each other 3 times, twice in the Nations League, where once with Switzerland as the home team on Halloween, things got real scary. Spain won 7-1. And then once in September at home in Spain, Spain won 5-0. So that's not great. And I think some people might also remember in the round of 16 of the 2023 World Cup, Spain won that one 5-1. And the only goal that Switzerland mustered was a Lea Codina own goal. So it's been a rough go. And now 2023 was a massive year for Spain, and they were juggernauts. Turns out 2025, they're still kind of juggernauts. I know the Olympics didn't go that well, and they were like very obviously exhausted during that 24 Olympics. But it's going to be real tough for Spain. It's going to be real tough for Switzerland. I think they're going to try to run it like maybe at the middle of that defense, run at those center backs, see if they can get Schurtenleib into some space in there to fire some shots. And hold on to hope, and maybe hope that Schurtenleib can impart some wisdom from her Barcelona experience. But I'm not counting on it.
Yeah, whenever your strategy hinges on looking towards a teenager for wisdom, that's always a rough bet. But I did go through the exercise. It wasn't interesting enough to make the show, but I did look at that 23 Switzerland roster versus the 25 Switzerland roster.
That's
a lot
true.
of overlap.
Great point.
A lot of overlap, except for all of the young players. So it's like mostly the same. Moritz, Faulty, Reason, you can kind of see it, but then there's no Pilgrim, Schurtenleib, Benet, Vondeler. So it's like, all right,
yeah,
this same core, and then you lose Bachmann and some of the other vets from 23, but it's the same core, and then let's inject 4 or 5 young players and young runners, that want to counter, that want to run, that want to kind of put balls over the top and just fucking let's see what happens. I think this game has a chance to be really fun for 20-25 minutes. Fair. I think it could be. I think we could have a really fun opening to this match, or maybe a string of a couple goals going back and forth for a few, and some rock'em sock'em type action. But ultimately, I mentioned on the show, I think it's going to be Shark Week out there for Spain. Big old bucket of barbecue chicken, Switzerland style, for the champs. I expect something along lines of one of those 4-1, 5-1 type score lines that you read off there.
And it's not totally unusual when you see like the host country, they make a nice run, they advance out of the group stage, and then they just run into sometimes the way the draw shakes out, you just run into one of the game's giants, and that's just what's happening here. So they have a lot to be proud of. The crowds have been awesome. I don't think we've talked about it nearly enough, but this is obviously a geography podcast. But the scenic views around these stadiums, like as they're panning around, that's another country definitely on the list. I gotta go see it. I mean, it looks absolutely incredible out there. So I just think Switzerland has handled themselves well, even when their team goes out against Spain in this quarterfinal. I think they have a lot to be proud of, and we've talked about it. I want to buy as much stock as I possibly can in all those young players in that young core, because I think they're building something that I think could be really special.
I totally agree with you, and kind of best possible outcome for that young core, because you get to the quarterfinals and then you get the home match versus the champs. And I think what do you hear coming out of all of these matches? I'm sorry, out of all of these tournaments, the home country always benefits. Whether it's a Brazil or a Germany or like Australia, the World Cup, and I think a team like Switzerland, just seeing what happened in the 23 World Cup, where they were just really like, and also ran a little bit, to now they're one of the main characters of this tournament, and now a great spot to say, oh, now we're going to get to play Spain at home. We made the quarterfinals. We'll get our moment. We'll get that moment where all the eyeballs are on us, and we'll get a shot to kind of make a little bit of history.
Yeah, I think that's probably about how this is going to look. And I mean, just imagine, what if something roughly similar to what happens in this Italy match happens with Switzerland? What if Schurtenleib scores, top bins in like the 14th minute or something? The place is going to go absolutely bananas. Yeah. Honestly, there's no downside to this for Switzerland right now. It's it's not like they're going to make this round and then lose to a team that they think is inferior. Like, there was no real way the draw was going to shake out like that. So I think it's overwhelmingly positive for their program.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the other quarterfinals matchup that's now locked in. Mm-hmm. This Italian team that we saw today on Wednesday will be taking on Norway in Geneva, 12 p.m. Pacific. I mean, how much scouting were you doing? Did you have your notebook and your clipboard that's got the little soccer field on it, and you're drawing X's and O's, and you're furiously pointing as you've been known to do?
I mean, obviously, I'm thinking about formations. I'm thinking about who's gonna be out there. We talked about it after we stopped recording yesterday, when I tried to do like my 11. The more I think about it, I think maybe you move right into the bench to put Gaupset out there on the left-hand side, and then now you have Guro Reiten coming off the bench to maybe, inject some energy and some passing late in the match. I think Italy is going to try to run right at I said this about Switzerland. They're probably going to have to try to attack the middle of the field. I expect the same from Italy. Manuela Giuliano trying to put those long passes over the top in the middle. I'm going to try to attack Norway center backs, which, have caused some concern at points, during this tournament. For the people who aren't nearly as confident as me, obviously, for the people who don't know that this team is a sleeping giant. But yeah, I did a little bit of scouting, and I think Italy's going to play hard. They're going to foul. They're going to waste time. They're going to pull your jersey. They're going to dive. They're going to do all that stuff. And Norway just needs to keep their wits about them, stick to the plan, pass amongst each other, use those connections, and then get the ball upfield. And you know what I always say, for the people who question Norway's defense, the best defense is a good offense.
Love it. Yep. That one opens up the quarterfinals. So let's go. All eyes on that one as well. Wednesday, right in that 12 p.m. Pacific time slot. So pumped for that one. Another game was played, though, today. I want to hit that one very quickly. Belgium 2, Portugal 1. Couple ways to look at this. Obviously, you already know this is a very Portugal-friendly podcast. Shout out to our Vespa guy. But Belgium, nice performance. Like, started strong, ended strong, kind of like the goals bookend the match. They get to exit this tournament on a real high note, because, you're taking on a Portugal side that needs a win, that's still alive. Everything to play for might be a little bit strong, but lots to play for, we'll say. And Belgium took care of business. Like, they've played well this entire tournament. Tessa Wooler gets a goal early in this one. Great to see that. And I thought Belgium was the better team. They got outshot, but they were sharper. They were crisper. They wanted this one. Not to say that Portugal didn't, but they were able to make plays down the stretch and kind of when it counted.
Yeah, I mean, Belgium has an interesting profile because you think about it. So I want to make sure I get the ages right. So, Vullert is 32. Blom from Tenerife, the other striker, she's 30. Van Havermaet is 33.
Kaiman's, she's 30s, right? I think she's like mid-30s.
Yeah, 36. Yeah. Absolutely, 36. So they had vets out there who knew this is pretty much like, this is probably like last dance territory for them. So they kind of needed to leave the tournament with a good feeling. And even in some of the other matches, I thought they handled themselves pretty well. I've been pleasantly surprised by Belgium throughout this tournament. I look forward to seeing kind of how the program moves forward and seeing how they look in future nations leagues. But yeah, I mean, there were three teams that, really there were two teams that needed to come out and look absolutely desperate to get a result. And it was Italy and Portugal. And the two teams that came out looking desperate to get a result were Italy and Belgium. And that's unfortunate for Portugal, who just came out looking kind of flat. Kika Nazareth, who we should talk about. I'm a little dismayed by the pronunciation of her name. We've been under the impression it's Kika Nazareth for years at this point. And then just in this tournament, everybody started calling her Kika Nazare. And I don't love it. If that's the proper pronunciation of her name, that's fine. We'll do that. But I don't love it because then it takes away our nickname, Kika of Nazareth, which is coined by you. And in my view, sir, one of the greatest nicknames in the history of this podcast.
Oh, man, I appreciate it. We could still rock with Kika of Nazareth, whether or not it's Nazare. I mean, it's one is a place and one is a surname. So whatever, we'll keep rocking with it. But yeah, I agree with you, man. I echo that disappointment with regards to this Portugal performance. I thought they played, they showed up, but ultimately you give up the goal that early. You have chances that you can't cash in, whether it's Ana Capeta, multiple chances, Diana Silva over the course of the tournament, Jessica Silva today, Kika had a chance too. That just starts to compound, get a little frustrating. You're already up against it. And the goal differential situation is, it looms. You've got to make up 5 or 6 goals, whether it's Spain, doing that to Italy or you doing that to Belgium. And once it's not happening, it kind of sets in that this just isn't going to be the tournament. I think ultimately Portugal have to do a couple things. I think they have to, again, carve out more of a legitimate identity where it's like, we can do this at a high level. And if we do our thing the way we know that we can do it, we can compete with anybody on any given day. I don't think that they have that. And then I think the quality, in the final third, like, it's kind of easy to say, but this is the team that I think suffered the most, able to get chances, able to kind of move the ball down the field, get into spots, and then somehow get nowhere near scoring goals. It's a really tough to see over these three matches.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And, it's hard to develop, but you got to. I mean, you're right. Diana Silva and Jessica Silva, they can produce some really good moments in that final third, but there are just so many times where just like the last touch isn't there, or the shot isn't quite there. And, going back to Kika, she looked good. She was very clearly their best player. And I think there's a pretty good argument she was the best player on the field today. That pass to play in Telma for the goal was just phenomenal. A delightful pass by Kika of Nazareth, a miracle, one might say. And
turned water into wine with that one.
Exactly. With that said, she wasn't nearly as dynamic as we're used to her being. Like, peak Kika, like Benfica Kika. What we've seen there, even early with Barcelona. I mean, she's just not quite healthy yet. So unfortunate timing for the superstar.
Yeah, definitely. We got a little bit robbed of that. But, a team that's trying to break through has got to be able to survive that a little bit better. It's not like she wasn't there. She's still there and doing stuff. But either way, I think a big disappointment for Portugal. I think Belgium gets to walk away with their head held high for sure. Last Belgian player I want to mention, Mariam Talaba, quickly moving up probably that's got to be my favorite, Belgian player. Doesn't quite fit the age profile of some of those vets. 25 years old still, plays for Anderlecht, central midfielder, rough and tumble kind of player. And I thought played really well, was able to get way, way, way advanced today. I think we've seen Taloba be effective in the attacking half. But today I think she was able to push up a little bit further and be a problem. She had that goal called back, hits the crossbar a little bit later. But that's a player that I think has got some WSL, written on her, potentially some NWSL. That's a player that I'd love to see, play in a different league, and a league that, can appreciate some of the skill set that she brings. Cause she's tough. She's aggressive. She's smart. She's fast. That's a player that I think I'm excited to watch for sure. And glad that, that her performance over these 3 group stage matches kind of hit my radar in a major way.
All right, Taloba to Bay FC confirmed. Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
You can use some midfielders.
That's a nice fit right there. Speaking of NWSL moves, how about a little Mia Fisher to the Seattle Reign? Okay, we didn't get your official take on that.
That's a good move. That's a big deal, Bubba.
Move.
I think that could work out pretty well with Lynn Willie, or pardon me. I do formerly known as Lynn Williams, Lynn Biondolo, move her over to the right wing. And then, you got to make the decision. Is Maddie Darlene going to continue to kind of play in the wing back position, or are you going to move her over on the left and have a front 3 of Darlene, Fischel, Biondolo? Or, you could also put, the young talent, Emery Adamas. She's great on the left. So you could have Adamas, Fischel, Biondolo in that front 3
with Darlene behind.
I like the sound
be nasty.
of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Let's go. All right. Very excited. Well, back to it. The Euros. What else do we need to hit? Group C's tomorrow.
Yes.
And
Germany, Sweden. That's a football game.
Germany, Sweden. That's the one that we need to watch. And then Poland, Denmark in the cardio matchup. But yeah, Germany, Sweden playing for the group. And I'm a little bit bummed that we're not going to get the seeding football. A couple people chimed in on the comments saying, well, you get to avoid Spain if you sort of play your cards right. But I think in a tournament like this, playing Spain in the semifinal or the final, I'm not sure there's a ton of difference there. I think it's going to be an awesome matchup tomorrow between those two.
I want to give we got to do a couple more quick shout outs. So from YouTube, Wesley Holmes chimed in on the Norway video and was like, hey, Grant, me official to Seattle. Good, huh? Shout out to you, Wesley. Yes, agreed. Very good.
Wesley broke that news for me, too. That's how I learned about it, and then I immediately texted you. So shout out Wesley for sure.
Absolutely. Thanks for rocking with us. And then Geronimo 4592, who mentioned that German footballers and we lean into some of this stuff sometimes. I think there are, different federations in different countries have different ethos about the way you play the game. That's very evident in the style of play. But he brought up, I'm not sure if our pal Geronimo was making this direct reference. I always think about NBA coach Greg Popovich, who often would use the term respect the game, which I always loved, and talk about playing the right way. And he talked about the German culture's respect for the game. You go out there to win the match. You play a great opponent like Sweden. You field your best 11 because you want to beat them, because you need to beat great teams to win an important tournament like this anyway. So I thought that was an interesting point from him. And it gives us something to look forward to, 1 hour before the match. Because I think when we see those lineups, and I know you're talking about when we were talking about Group C last time around, I'm almost as excited. There are degrees to this, but I'm almost as excited to see the lineup reveal an hour before as I am for the match itself, because that's going to be that's the perfect primer for okay, what are we going to watch here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think both teams are so good. We talked about this too on the last Group C episode. Both teams are so good that it doesn't matter who's out there. It's going to be a great game. Even if you get what one team's bottom 11 and the other team's top 11, it's still going to be competitive just because of the talent. Yeah. Cannot wait to watch that one. And I'm glad we don't have to 2-screen it. Well, I was a little annoyed today. I'm trying to watch Spain. I'm trying to watch Portugal. And I know the Portugal, result was probably sewn up really early as soon as they concede, within the first few minutes. But I still had to watch. You never really know. But I think tomorrow, none of that. We get to just kind of lock in on Germany, Sweden. I think tomorrow's show will be very Germany, Sweden heavy. So prepare yourselves for that. So let's all hope for some big time football. Okay, real quick episode calendar. So we alluded to it a little bit, but we'll have a Group C show tomorrow, Group D show Sunday night. Then we'll get a couple days off, couple travel days for your boys. We'll hit the ice bath, those massager guns that just be kind of, just massage gunning, different, parts of our body from all these, all these office chair hours. And we'll be back when the quarterfinals returns. Long story short, recording pretty much every day that there's quarterfinals action. That's 4 days, 4 shows. So definitely keep it locked in for that. One more quick note. We're getting a ton of people watching the show. We're not getting the same ton of people subscribing, but I know that our returning viewers is a much higher number than our subscribers. So if you're returning, do yourself a favor, take one little activity out of the workflow, hit that subscribe button. The videos just comes right to you. And then you don't even have to worry about returning. We'll return to you. We'll return to each other. It'll be, very beautiful and very harmonious.
What a deal. I didn't even consider that. And it's totally free. So I didn't even think about the concept of, you don't even have to start to type into the channel, whatever. It'll just show up right there in the feed with no fee. Yeah, completely free of charge.
Love it. All right, man. I think we did it. Anything else you want to hit before we get out of here?
There is one more thing. I don't want to short our guy Carlo. One more. He also predicted in the video before last, Switzerland, Finland 1-1 draw. So I'm saying here, there might be, I need to go back. I know he's been giving the predictions. I've been like eyeballing them, but then, I'm like in the flow of the show and all this stuff. I mean, our guy might be just giving out sound financial advice, let alone, good football opinions. I might need to swing over to the casino right outside of Seattle and just make sure I just like, hey, Carlos picks. That's how I'm gonna walk in at this point.
Yeah, our own personal Sam Rothstein. This has been another episode of Into the Channel. Thank you for hanging out. If you enjoyed the show or love women's football as much as your boys do, make sure you're kicking it with us each and every single week. Like, subscribe, follow YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to watch or listen. Leave us a review over at favorite podcast app. Links to all of our socials, except one in the show notes of this episode. And a big thank you to my co-host as well, Mr. Grant Angle, for being easily the biggest free agent signing this show has ever made. A signing that's worked out years later down the line. I appreciate you, bro. None of this is possible without you. So again, thank you for partaking with me.
Likewise, buddy. I mean, just to take people behind the curtain, Dino is the general manager, the manager, the number 9, pretty much every important role there is on the show. I'm just happy to play a part in it. And just like you guys, the real engine behind the show. We appreciate you rocking with us, and we will see you all next time.